Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I call this one The Lesson from Mexico. And here's what it has to do. A week or so ago, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, inquired of the leader of Mexico, a remarkable woman named Scheinbaum, whether it would be okay to move American troops into Mexico and help her government fight the drug cartels and gangs that are active in parts of Mexico. She politely but firmly refused. She will not allow foreign troops on the territory of the country she was elected to lead. Hardly a surprising response. But of course, anyone with half a brain can see that there's a problem here. An immense, rich, armed to the teeth country, the US, is suggesting troops to a much smaller, much poorer, and much less military equipped neighbor. This is not a conversation between countries. This is an elephant and a mouse, each of whom knows what the size and capability of its adversaries here actually are. It's an extraordinary thing to do, made more extraordinary by the fact that it comes during a time when the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, has imposed tariffs on Mexico, imposed tariffs that he has raised and lowered, made open for a while in part, and then after 90 days, we'll see. In other words, hanging over Mexico is the threat of the tariffs. And those tariffs are devastating if they are actually going to be imposed. Mexico depends on selling all kinds of things into the United States. And tariffs, by making all of those things more expensive for Americans, will hurt the Mexican industry badly. They won't sell as much because Americans have to pay more, not just the cost of the Mexican produced item, but the tariff on top of it. In other words, what Mr. Trump has done is directly hurt and threaten to hurt more huge numbers of Mexican workers and businesses. And they are, of course, upset and angry. They didn't elect Mr. Trump, did they? They don't want a foreign leader to make decisions that deprive them of their jobs and incomes. Try to imagine Americans finding out that decision makers in other countries were destroying them. That's the lesson of Mexico. What we take here as a discussion of our taxes, because the ones we choose to move around are tariffs, they directly impact producers around the world, like those in Mexico. Now, of course, you could handle these situations completely differently. You could sit down with the Mexican leaders, have American officials and Mexican officials sit down, share honestly what the problems of the two countries might be, and how they might each contributing to the problems, solving the problems of the other. Maybe there are things the Mexicans could do to help the Americans, and vice versa. Work out a plan without one side with all the guns suggesting things to the other while holding over their head the tariffs. This is not diplomacy. This is not international relationships. This is what is known in simple, plain English as bullying. The United States and Mr. Trump are bullying Mrs. Sheinbaum, rather like Mr. Trump is bullying Mr. Carney, the newly elected leader in Canada. This is producing massive reputation damage to the United States. Demands by the hurt producers in Canada and Mexico that their government protect them from the United States. It makes the United States government a much greater threat to Canadians than, for example, Mr. Putin is, or Xi Jinping in China is. Those countries have not imposed tariffs on Canadian exports. Those countries are opposed to the tariffs Mr. Trump is imposing around the world. What is emerging, and this stands as a warning to the United States, what is emerging as the lesson of Mexico is that the United States' policies are viewed around the world as attempts to solve the economic problems of the United States at the expense of everybody else. And everybody else, starting with the Mexicans, is very unwilling for that to proceed. And the damage to America, long-term, short-term, the fact that Canadians will look everywhere else to sell what they produce, not the United States, not now, and not in any future time when they would become similarly vulnerable. We are isolating ourselves as a nation. We are becoming a rogue nation in the world. That is not a good idea for 5,000 reasons. And that is the lesson of Mexico. If interventions like these strike you as reasonable, interesting, worth thinking about, then please share this video with friends, relatives, neighbors. That's why we make them. And of course, we will appreciate any financial donations that help us cover the costs of making and distributing these videos. Thank you.